Hello everyone, I'm Arali and welcome to the channel. So recently I released a video which had some tips and tricks for new players, and I've decided to now redo this video because I wasn't very happy with it. It was very all over the place. The information was good, but I was just kind of reading off of a list of things and it wasn't very sorted and it didn't have my regular production value. So I kind of wanted to do something a little bit better for you guys and make it a little bit more comprehensive and stuff. So this is this video, and then I wanted to talk about, at the very end of that first video that I made, I talked about the action camera, and I have decided to maybe make a different video on it and kind of go into more detail with it. I just think it doesn't really quite fit the theme of this video. So if you're looking for that, that'll hopefully be in a video that's gonna come out soon, depending on how much time I can invest into that. But yeah, so let's get right into it. So I want to talk about the starting maps. So when you get put into the starting maps, after you defeat your big boss, you are on the starting map depending on your race. So for the humans it's Queensdale, for the Asura it's Metrica Province, for the Salvari it's Caledon Forest, for Norn it's Wayfarer Foothills, and for the Char it's Plains of Ashford. Now all of these maps are unlocked on all characters at all times. So if you're playing with a friend, you're a human for example, and they're playing an Asuran character, you can go travel to them. Those waypoints, the first initial waypoints, are unlocked for all characters. So for the humans in Queensdale it's the Shaymore waypoint, for the Asura in Metrica Province it's Sorendra, for the Salvari it's in Caledon Forest, the Astoria waypoint, for the Norn it's in the Wayfarer Foothills, the Horncall waypoint, and then for the Char in the Plains of Ashford it's Smokestead. So you have those maps always available. You can travel to those, which is a great way if you hit a hard quest or something that's a little bit higher level than you, or enemies that are just too strong for you. You can always travel to those, because the good thing in Guild Wars 2 is that it doesn't matter what level you are, you get downgraded to whatever level the area is you're in, and you can still earn experience points. It might be a little bit of a reduced experience point earning, but it's still good enough to level you up, and it's still great experience for you. So now that we're talking about hearts, I want to say that there's really no quests in Guild Wars 2, and hearts that you see around the world are pretty much just for guidance. They're not really your quests. They're supposed to guide you into different areas and guide you into other dynamic events that are happening around there. Dynamic events are the biggest experience points that you will gain throughout the game. So I will encourage everyone to do as many dynamic events as you can find, and those are the orange icons that you will see on your mini map. And so as you're traveling around, do as many as you can, but once you finish a heart, which sometimes dynamic events can help you out with that, go back to the heart vendor. Even though you send the money and the karma to you, they do become merchants, and they have some great items for karma, which I will always recommend people to go get those items. A lot of those items are for the level that the NPC is at and the level of the heart pretty much, and if that's around your level, they have some great equipment for karma. Karma you will come across so much later on that it's always nice to find places to spend it, especially if you're in the middle of leveling, because there won't be much use for you right now for karma. It'll come later on, but buy as many items as you see fit with those. You can get some boosters sometimes, different things, food and stuff to help you out, and some of those items are even collection items, so get those. Collections or something I'll touch on in a little bit, but yeah, so get those items and go around, do as many hard quests and dynamic events as you can, and then travel to other starting maps if you feel like you've kind of hit like the ceiling there. One thing that kind of help you to, there's actually two things that kind of help you go around the world. So the first thing I want to talk about is the content guide. Now the content guide is something that'll pop up next to your map, and it'll kind of show you some items in the world that you can do, and once you hit level 10, which unlocks your personal story, it'll guide you to do that. Now in the options menu, you can kind of change what the content guide shows you. You can show it to only have map items if you're only looking to do map completion, for example, because map completion is great to get extra experience and extra materials and stuff. And there is, when you open up your map on the left side, you actually have a little bit of a guide as to how far you are with your map quest or your map completion. And if you hover over those items on the left side, it will actually show you where the other items are. If you hover over the points of interest, for example, it'll show you where the undiscovered points of interest are. So that's a really nice way of getting some map completion, and the content guide can help you with that. And then there's also the option where you can have it show you events and map completion items, so you can kind of do both of those. Or if you want to do the story, then you can leave it the way it was, or you can completely turn it off if you just want to walk around. But content guide is kind of there to show you a little bit around the world, give you a little bit of a guidance. And I think that a lot of people don't realize that if you hover over those items on the left side of your map, if you hit the the M key, you can actually look where other hearts are or other vistas or whatever it is you're missing, so you can kind of complete your map that way. But one other thing that can kind of help you go around the world is the tutorial section. Now, if you hit your hero panel under, usually the keybind is H, you will see on the left side, close to the bottom, it says achievements, and you click on that, and there's a little section, it's called general. Now, there's a ton of stuff in the achievement guides, and it's a little confusing and stuff, and trust me, a lot of people, even I to this day, don't know everything that's in there. I haven't completed hardly half of the stuff in there, but that's kind of where you can find a lot of achievements if you're looking for extra stuff to do. But one interesting thing under general, if you go all the way to the very bottom of general, it says tutorial, and this is pretty much for starting people, for people that are new to the game, they're just starting out. You can go around, and this is particular to the starting maps. So if you're going around the starting maps, it's asking you to do like certain events and stuff, but the tutorial section there is really great on getting some useful items like boosters and bags, especially because in Guild Wars 2, like everything gives you loot, so it's really nice to have some extra bag space and stuff, and some boosters as you're harvesting or crafting or whatever you're doing. It's just really nice to have those. So that's a very, very helpful section, the tutorial section. So I would advise anyone to kind of, as you're going along, maybe look at that sometimes and see if maybe you can finish a section somewhere and get some good loot there. So talking about loot and experience and harvesting and stuff. So loot and experience when you're fighting enemies is shared between whoever is fighting them. So if I'm playing with a friend and we're killing an enemy both together, we will both get experience points and we both get loot. So there's no such thing as like kill stealing or things like that. You will both get experience points, and you will get the same experience points that you would get even if you were to fight them by yourselves. So that's really nice. The same thing can be said for the harvesting nodes. So in other MMOs, it's usually where you go to harvesting nodes and that one node counts for every player on the server, and you pretty much steal that if you go harvest it. Now in Guild Wars 2, that is not true. That one node is for every player. Every player can chop down this tree or harvest these herbs or whatever it is. That's available for everyone. So do not be afraid to harvest those nodes, and also do not be afraid to help out this player fighting a harder boss or a harder enemy, harder foe around the world. So kind of encourages you to play with other people. You don't have to team up with them. You don't necessarily have to do anything, but it just kind of helps, you know, if you're playing with friends, saying, hey, here's this tree, you can chop it down too as well as I, or hey, here's this veteran guy, let's kill him together. So it kind of encourages you to play together, and as you're playing together, I will point out that you can heal each other. So healing is a normal thing in any MMO, but the great thing about that is you can also resurrect people. So if someone goes down, you can resurrect them. Now if they're completely defeated, you can resurrect them as well, but it just takes longer. But everyone can do this. So if your friend gets hit in battle and they're on the ground, they will get a special symbol over their head, run over there, get them up as soon as they can, and that way you guys can keep on fighting together. Even if it's a stranger, you know, whatever enemy you're fighting, whatever event it is that you're doing, it's always better to have extra people, and it's always nice to have people help out like that. So I will encourage everyone to res as much as you can, and it goes faster if they're down, so try to get to them as soon as you can. So, but yeah, as we were talking about loot here, I wanted to touch on items in particular, and some people have pointed out, which is really interesting, I didn't even think about that when I made the original videos, but items are categorized by colors, and some other games use different colors for different items. So not everyone knows exactly the like hierarchy of items. So I'm gonna go through the whole list here for you. It starts out with gray items, which are always junk items. Those are things you can always sell. You can't salvage them or anything. You just have to sell them to a merchant. They're just pretty much there to make some extra money. Then it goes to white items, which are just normal items. You'll find that most of the things in the world pretty much have that icon. It doesn't even have a border. It's just white. Then you go to the blue items. So I think in some games like blue and green are switched, but we start out with blue, which are fine items. They're identified as fine. And then green are masterwork items. So that's the next level up. And then you go to yellow items, which are rare. And then you go to orange items, which are exotic. Then you go to pink items, which are ascended. And I think most ascended items are account bound. I think that's definitely true for equipment. I'm not sure about every item, but I think most pink stuff, most ascended stuff is account bound, as well as the next level, which is purple, which is legendary gear or legendary items. Even some items just have that purple. They're used for legendary crafting and stuff. But that's kind of the hierarchy of the colors of items there. So don't think that a blue item you have is better than a green item. It's not. Most of the time, if there's the same level, green will always win out. So make sure that you kind of look at that as you're kind of collecting gear. But I touched on something. So when you go to a merchant and you want to sell your stuff, there's actually a sell junk button on the bottom, which sells all of your gray items, which is really great. Because if you're walking around, you're getting a ton of those gray items and stuff. It's just really nice to just go and sell all of that stuff all at once, because you don't have to worry about that because it's junk anyways. So that makes you some extra money, and that's a quick way of selling all of those. Now, as we're talking about gear, so there's also something called salvaging, which you can do with salvage kits. There's some unbreakable ones in the gem store that you can buy, which I will recommend. I have most, if not all of them, but the copper one is probably the one you want to go for first. But you want to salvage most, if not all of your equipment that you're not using anymore. There's certain items you cannot salvage, which are things usually bought with like karma and stuff, as to not be able to just exchange karma for materials. They kind of stop that from happening. So you cannot salvage karma items and stuff like that. There's certain equipment items that you cannot salvage. But most items that you salvage, you can either salvage them by a category. So if you right hit it, you will get some different options. There's one where you can do it by category, where you can do all masterwork or below items, or all fine and below items, or all rare and below items. So you kind of have some options there if you want to salvage like a whole stack. And there's also one where you can just salvage a whole stack by itself. Now that will give you a ton of materials, which is really great. Materials are really good. You'll need a ton of those later, so it's really nice to have a lot of those. But they can also fill up your inventory. Now ArenaNet has designed something that is pretty much the best thing to have ever happened in any video game ever, specifically in MMO, and they have developed a deposit all button, which you'll find on the top right of your inventory. Now that button is seriously the best thing ever, because it deposits all of your materials in your inventory straight to your bank. You don't have to worry about bringing it to a bank. You don't have to worry about maybe accidentally selling it, and you definitely don't have to worry about it cluttering up your inventory. So that's a really helpful button. I think that is one button that anyone that has played Guild Wars 2 will 100% agree is like one of the nicest things ever. So that's on the top right. It's a little gear icon or something like that, and you can click it and it'll deposit all of your materials to the bank. Now, as we're talking about the bank, I want to talk about a couple of ways to access the bank, because waypoint travel costs money, and the further you're away from the waypoint, the more it costs. And as a new player, you want to save as much money as you can, because you'll find items later on that cost you maybe hundreds of gold, and you want to get those, and it's just very important to keep your money together pretty much. But there is some pretty much free ways to get access. So the first one I want to talk about is the PvP lobby, which can be accessed once you hit level 22. You'll get an icon on the top left that'll give you access to it, but you can also have a hotkey. Your hotkeys are under the options menu, and on the left side you will see that there is a little mouse icon. You can click on that and it has all your keybinds. There's a bunch of great keybinds, so if you want to go through that, there's a bunch of different things that you can change on there. Definitely have a look at those keybinds. Make it a little bit easier for you to play. Maybe if there's certain keys that you don't like where they are, you can change almost anything. Once you hit that keybind for the PvP lobby, you can hit on the top left to enter the PvP lobby, and you'll have access to all kinds of merchants and your bank. Now the same can be said for the Obsidian Sanctum. Now that's a world versus world jumping puzzle actually, which you can hit the world versus world key, or you can hit the icon again on the top left, and you see it gives you options on which map to go to, and on the very bottom it says Obsidian Sanctum. Now that, like I said, is a jumping puzzle, which is like it's almost like a PvP jumping puzzle. It's kind of fun, but it's not super worth it to do. It's a little bit on the longer side and stuff, but it does have great access to, again, merchants, bank, all kinds of other stuff. So those are some quick ways. Then another way is through crafting stations. So crafting stations all around the world will have access to your bank, which is once you hit a crafting station, even if you are not that crafting profession, you can still go over to the crafting station. You won't be able to craft anything, but if you look on the left side, it does have a little, it's like a coin satchel, and you can click on that, and that's your bank. So you have access to your bank wherever those crafting stations are. There's a bunch of them around the world. I think every starting map has crafting stations, but there's some in like some remote locations too, so that kind of helps you if you're just walking around and you randomly think, oh, I need to go to the bank, and you maybe forgot that, you know, through the guild hall you can get there, through the PvP lobby or the Obsidian Sanctum or something. But that's really nice to have. And so talking about the guild hall, so in the guild hall you also have access to your bank, but it's through the scribe crafting station. So the scribe crafting station, I'm not sure where they all are in the different guild halls, but if you can get to the scribe crafting station, again, it does have the bank access for you. So, and you can enter your guild hall by hitting G, and then on the top right it says Guild Hall, and you can go in there. And from all of those locations, actually, from the Obsidian Sanctum, the PvP lobby and stuff, you can pretty much return by pressing the same buttons. For the Obsidian Sanctum, it's actually on the bottom right, but you actually get returned to the exact place in the world that you were at when you went there. And again, it doesn't cost you anything for those things. So you have access to merchants and banks and stuff, but you're not paying any money, and you get to go whenever you want to, and you can return right back to where you were. And that way you don't really interrupt the adventure that you're doing, the things that you're doing. So that's really nice. Now, talking about the guild hall, most guild halls that are a little bit higher level will have some harvesting stations, and those renew every day. And again, they're for everyone. So if you are in your guild hall, kind of seek those out and make sure that you do your daily harvesting. It's really nice to get those extra items and stuff. Like I said, materials will become really important later on. So if you just happen to maybe want to look at your bank through the guild hall or something, you can hop on right in there. Also, if you have bought the expansions and you're not a free-to-play player, in the guild hall there is a tavern guy, and he has different enhancements that you can get, and they're permanent on that character. So you can have like an experience booster or a crafting booster or a harvesting booster, and it's just a small little booster, but it is permanent on that character. So if you're not a free, I believe free to play players are not allowed to, but if you have bought the game, you can gain access to the guy in the guild hall, and he'll have some enhancements for you that you can have permanently on your character. So that helps out, and that'll maybe speed up your adventure a little bit and get you some extra materials or whatever it is you're looking for. So, but talking about crafting professions, so the crafting professions, they go as to, they call it crafting disciplines, are a little bit different than other games. Now, you can decide whatever you want to be. At any time you can have 2, but if you decide to change, you just have to give a small fee to the guy to whatever profession you're changing it. But the fun thing is that it retains your old level. So if I'm a jewel crafter, for example, and I change over to a leather worker and I pay the fee, and I have another one that I don't want to change, I change it to a leather worker, I don't lose all the progress that I've made as a jewel crafter. I actually retain that. So it's really nice to be able to level up all of them. You can go through and pretty much, I think most people that are veterans have like one person that's their crafter. I have certainly done so because it's much easier to have one person that can craft everything. So that's maybe my recommendation. If you have a main, or if you have a person where you're like, I think that's going to be my crafter, I would keep that all on one, because you don't want to have to change between different characters just in order to get to your highest level crafting on that particular profession. So that's my recommendation, but it's really nice to have that so you can level up all your different professions, and once you're max level on them, it's really nice to just pay a small fee and be able to switch over and be max level whatever the thing is that you have there, or level it up or whatever. So, and leveling those up does give you a little bit of experience. So I will say that as you're getting this material and you are depositing it into the bank, and maybe you come across a crafting table like a station somewhere, maybe have a look at it and maybe spend a little bit of money to change your profession to that if you haven't yet, and just level that up a little bit and get some extra experience, get maybe some extra equipment or something, and maybe get some extra items. Sometimes you can discover runes and stuff like that, so extra stuff for your equipment and stuff that you can put into your gear and stuff to kind of give you a boost and stuff. So, but yeah, I think that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about. Like I said, I will probably make a dedicated video on the action camera because I think it's a subject worthy of talking about, and I might add some other options in there that I use, maybe some camera stuff and whatever. So, but yeah, I wanted to kind of redo this. I hope this was better for you guys. I think this is going to end up being a little bit better for me. So that's going to be it. If you like this video, leave a comment down below, leave a like. If you like my content on the channel, subscribe. And yeah, and I do stream every Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday if you're looking to do that. My plan right now is to stream as much Guild Wars 2 as I can, so it'll be mostly Guild Wars 2 on my channel, but I am doing other stuff once in a while as well as currently I'm playing through Grandia on my channel. So if you're interested in some old school RPG and stuff, go check that out. Yeah, and I'll see you guys in the next video or next stream or whenever. All right, bye guys.